All right, here we go. Hey everyone, welcome to the Late Night Happy Hour here on ESPN Los Angeles. Brian Kamenetzky, Andy Kamenetzky, and joining us in the middle of our screen tonight, it's Byron Scott. It's a callback joke from last night. If you watched last night's show, I made a joke that Byron Scott was Michael Cooper. It's of course Jaime Maggio from CBS and TNT and Spectrum and many, many places that we all know well. Jaime,
every outlet that has basically ever been on television, Jamie's been a part of it.
That is correct. Yes, I'm very proud of it.
And so where are you? This is a kind of an amazing moment for the Late Night Happy Hour. Not just because I have to hold my phone the entire time because I'm not entirely sure what's happening with our production, but this is the first time we've ever had somebody on the show, not who just does live TV, but is going to do live TV during the show.
Yes, I'm going to have to leave you guys a few minutes early to go and do my my live shot for KCAL 9 tonight, 10:45 Sports Central.
Totally understood. Yeah, absolutely understood. We were just thrilled that you actually could make the time and that this would work out. We really wanted to have you on this thing.
Time because you guys have been doing this for a little while now, and I feel slightly insulted that it took you so long to lob the invite. I know I'm not with the Lakers anymore. I moved over to the Clippers, and you guys probably turn your nose up at me. But I'm here to make amends and to make it water under the bridge.
But in fairness, Jamie, you should know I turn up my nose at a lot of people. I mean, it's not just you. I am a very snobby person.
Yes.
And look, Jamie, in fairness, you know what you did.
But
you know what you did.
I miss you guys.
I'm so like not going to be able to keep myself in frame this entire time. Look. When Andy and I were figuring this out, we said to ourselves, "What is the right amount of time to not have Jamie on before we do eventually?" I think Jamie froze.
Did she?
She looks frozen to me.
Jamie, can you hear us?
In kind of a kissy face too. It's not probably the frame that she would want to be frozen in.
Let me text her quickly.
Tell her to leave and
sign
come
out.
back.
Right.
Yeah, she's definitely frozen. Now she's really going to be mad at us.
Yeah, she just texted.
If you're not nice to us, we freeze you. That's what happens, Jamie. All right, let me think. She left, and now she's coming back. I'll be ready to push on the button. Here she comes. She should go right back into the B square if I do this. If not, here we'll just A, B, C. We just keep Byron on until Byron's going to become our middle square for like placeholders. Whenever we have technical difficulties, we could also always go with Michael and Byron and you, for example. Like we can kind of vary this around until Jamie comes back.
I told her just to re-enter and come back, leave and come back in.
Right. We can go full you. We can go.
She said she's trying. Said she's trying to get back in.
Now, based on our formula, it looks like you're the guest of Michael and Byron.
My concern, by the way, is that you're getting so fancy with this, you're actually preventing Jamie. She said
from joining.
Yeah, she said she's trying to get back in. Can we see her?
Well, you got to remember, I'm having to do this in a slightly different way tonight too. So let me go check. Let me see.
Yeah, I was going to say, stop screwing around. Let Jamie back into the room.
Oh, I'm not trying.
No. I mean, like, don't start getting all fancy with the spices, as they said in Ratatouille. Let's concentrate.
As far
on
as I
Jamie
know,
in this room.
she should still be able to connect if she joins room with her name. It should work. So let her know that.
Okay.
I just feel bad because this is eating. We have a limited amount of Jaime Maggio.
I know.
No, she should just pop right back on my screen when she's there.
Okay, she said she's restarting.
Okay.
So,
and
anywho,
we'll just put her right in the middle. There actually is. Like when we'll be trying to take some of your questions, which Andy will have to access because I'm only able to use one hand for the show tonight. Normally I do the
Virtue.
late night. Oh, you know what we should do, Andy? We should talk about vsliquor.com while we're doing this. Sometimes your show doesn't work well and your guest can't get back on, and so you just have a still picture of Byron Scott as your guest. Trying to capitalize on what was a good show last night. There's no question, but come on, guys, let it go. And you're worried about your ratings, you're worried about your job security, and you know what helps that kind of go by better, Andy?
Ordering from vsliquor.com. So
Booze,
alcohol
that's
delivered
exactly right.
directly to your door.
Right.
Anything
So
you want,
wait, she's
one
back,
click
Andy. Hold
right
on.
there.
A, B, C. There she is. All right. Hi, Jamie.
Jamie! There you are.
We took advantage of your absence and went ahead and did our plug while you were gone. We did our commercial.
Oh man, I'm so sorry about that.
That's okay.
Oh, no, it's great. The VS Liquor, they love it. They're actually pleased with this. By the way, Jamie, for your first order, vsliquor.com, type in sports in your checkout. You'll get 15% off. Like, because you'll probably need a drink after doing this show tonight.
Wow, my liquor intake during the pandemic has certainly increased. I will tell you that much.
Did you know Americans are actually by volume though I thought this was I was fascinated by this. Americans are actually drinking less during the pandemic. Can you guess why?
Why?
Well, no, I guess you can't guess why.
You just froze again.
No,
you said they're increasing their liquor intake?
No, Americans are actually drinking less. No, less. There's less alcohol being consumed in America.
Because of all the weed stores.
That is a really good guess, but it is incorrect.
That is actually a great theory. The green crosses.
I forgot to mention cocaine output has gone way through the roof. Andy, do you have a guess as to why Americans by volume are drinking less?
By volume are drinking less? Is it, I mean, a morbid reason that pops into my head is it the people getting sick can't drink?
No, it's because with bars and restaurants closed, Americans can't drink enough at home to make up the gap. Like we are drinking way more at home. Like we're having more delivered. But overall, alcohol consumption is down because we can't go out and drink.
I got to be honest, man. That feels like people not trying. I mean, drinking in your house is the easiest thing in the world to do.
Well, particularly now, Andy, with vsliquor.com, which can deliver it right to your door. Or if you're doing a hit for TV, you could have it delivered right to you. Like the minute you walk off camera, boom, shots, ready to go.
I'll wait until after I do my show here.
Okay, that's probably a good idea. What were we talking about before you froze? It was because you were being mean to us and like I froze you that way? Is that what it was?
I was grilling you guys and it was like, bad karma, and then I should have just
you shouldn't do this to the puppet masters, Jamie. Like the ones controlling the whole
freeze
show.
For audio, freeze for video.
That's right. If you're
freeze frame too, I took a picture. I was making a very ugly face.
It was sort of a weird kind of kissy face. It was like what's that? They call that duck face or whatever. Like, yeah. It's like very big on Instagram.
Now, if it happens to you, Jamie, that's on you. Like the second time is your fault. So, how's everything been for you? Like this, we thought about you for this show tonight, and one of the things we wanted to get into with
down your list, and you
right. I mean, we had gone through like,
and we said there is no one left
that we'd like to do this with more than Jaime Maggio.
Right,
but like you cover like sports year round. You cover all sorts of sports, and we're in this period right now where we're inching closer. But we're not there yet. What has this been like for you as somebody who's like a generalist?
I think, first of all, I mean, just on a personal level, I've just really learned to be adaptable. And I think, for you guys too, you've worked in sports like for a long time. My life revolves around the sports calendar. There's a total like rhythm and flow to it. And that is completely disrupted and off course. And not only that, I mean, there's no certainty as when things are going to resume. I'm not fully convinced we're going to be playing an NBA season or a baseball season or a football season. So I think that all you can do right now, like for my own mental health, is do your best to be adaptable and to roll with the punches and to just stay positive. And that's it. Like, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm beyond grateful that I've been able to continue working through this time because so many of my friends and colleagues and peers have not, and they've taken pay cuts. And I mean, I've obviously lost work too, but it's a rough. This is a rough go for sure.
Tell the people where you are right now, like as far as where you're broadcasting.
I'm at a vacant restaurant downtown LA. And this is where we've been broadcasting from since middle of March. We got kicked out of the studio at CBS, and for good reason, because everyone was for safety precautions, and we've been set up here for the last few months. It's a shorter commute for me, which I'm cool with, but you're here and you're alone, and there's no teleprompter, you're not on the computer system at work, and you just have to adapt, right? And I think that goes for everything in life, but for me as a person that doesn't love and embrace change, I'm just here we go. Okay, but you can always find a silver lining.
So how do you can only see half my, I'll move over here. Hi. So how does it work in terms of you doing your shots? Like, do you have to set it up yourself and stand there and do it yourself? And like, are you like that guy who like had to run away on the side of the road because there was a moose? Remember, did you see that clip? The guy was like, "Oh hell no, I'm not staying here. There's a moose," and he got into his car and left. Like, do you have to do? Are you your own producer now? You know everything. How does this work?
No, we have a producer. There's one producer in the office, in the studio. And then there's another producer working from home and editors working from home. I am here with a cameraman, thank God, because I could not do my own live shots. I applaud the
Tell
people
him to stop coughing. We're trying to do a show here.
He's got his earbuds in. He's not or talk anymore. He's watching something. But we've got a couple lights and the camera, and it's pretty bare bones, but it works. And you know what? It's better than not working. So it's all good.
Hey, have you had to go about like changing what you look for in terms of doing stories? Because I mean, obviously there's been like sports to talk about sort of, broadly or sometimes non-specifically, but we know this. There is often not enough to fill that time. So like I know, for example, it was a really cool piece that you just did with all of our friends, Arash Markazi, about the weight that he's lost in a year. It's like 130 pounds, which is
the weight he's lost. I've gained in this pandemic. So.
It's what's funny is everyone
is a zero-sum thing. Like when somebody loses it, somebody else has to gain it. That's some people don't realize that about weight, but that's actually true.
I don't think scientifically.
No, it is. If a certain amount of weight gets lost and it's not picked, the Earth actually doesn't spin properly. So it's got to.
Like osmosis.
It's right,
but like
slow down or something.
I mean, you obviously Arash, so that's not a hard story for you to think about and put on air. But like, have you been looking for stuff that's beyond what you might typically do?
Yes, for sure. And to be honest, to be fair, I mean, we have actually had content to fill. Like I really can only think of a few nights where it was kind of like, oh, we stretched tonight, but for the most part, there's been news because everything's changing every day, right? The status of everything is changing every day. But to answer your question, I think that early on, especially, we had to get creative because a lot of players didn't necessarily want to do interviews because they didn't know, there were so many moving parts. Everything was so fluid. They didn't really want to go on camera and speak, not to mention, even if they felt comfortable doing something social distanced optically, that might not look good. Maybe, a PR person was advising against that, or a team didn't want to do that. So we got creative, and now I think it's like totally acceptable to do those Zoom interviews and for broadcast. And it's just, again, adapt and adjust and push forward and make it work.
But I think the Zoom thing is really amazing too, because like it took us out, you're not sure what the audience will accept for the quality of something, or like what does it have to sound like, and you're so used to it's really hard for me to fit my quote fingers into a frame. Broadcast quality. But like, I think what we're finding is people are, if what the story you're telling works, then it's okay if it looks like it came from Zoom, or you're socially distanced, or like the audio isn't crystal perfect. And I wonder how that's going to matter and play forward when all of this is over, and God willing it will be at some point. There's going to be some stuff that's different about how we all do our jobs based on what we learn now, I think. Like, what do you think will be different when it's over?
Well, I think that with everyone working from home, and which, by the way, I went to Best Buy to buy a printer this week, and they were completely sold out online as well. And I'm like, what?
I can tell you why. I can tell you exactly why. Because all these people, all these parents with kids had to buy printers for home if they didn't have one, because we all turned into like elementary school and junior high and high school teachers.
Yeah.
Like, I really do think that's the big reason. Like, our printer needed replacing for a while, but I never felt an urgency. Mm-hmm. And when this pandemic started, like a day into it, I went to Staples and got a new one, because I'm like, I know I'm going to need a printer.
That's actually not why it happened. You know why you weren't able to find stuff at Best Buy?
Why? Because I'm a girl?
No, because you weren't nice to us. You said those mean things at the beginning of the show.
Wow.
And we called up Best Buy and said, no printers for Maggio. She gets nothing. We were at the other end of that going, nope.
Such a lame person when I go into. I hate Best Buy. I hate Home Depot. I walk in there and I feel like everyone could tell that I have no idea what I'm doing in there. So they could send me to like the totally wrong section of the store, and I'd be like, oh, okay, nothing's here. But I ended up getting a nice printer at Target.
Oh
yeah.
They'll set you up with one of those.
So going back to your question about like the standards of broadcast television, I think that these Zoom interviews are going to suffice for now, but I think we all have HD televisions, right? Like that, because there is a need to see things so clearly and with that depth. So I think that we will get back to normal in that sense. Where I do think we're going to see a major change is the number of people operating from home offices from here on out. Companies are not going to want to pay the overhead of a large office space, pay for the printers, because the reason why I bought one is because I always use the one at the office.
Yep.
Anymore. So I think that's where we're going to see.
How many? I'll cop to it, if you will. How many pages a year do you print at the office? Because like I do some side work where like I have like 25-page transcriptions and stuff like that, and I always do those at work. Always.
No. So I not that many. It's like 5 pages a month, maybe.
They're not watching, Jamie. Come on.
They're not watching.
I mean, you could just.
They're not
You're
watching.
sure as hell not watching your show.
They're not. They're literally doing a show right now.
Now, don't make me replace you with a picture of Michael Thompson, because I can and I will.
I think it's going to be weird moving forward, just like the idea of access to players, like during games, after games, all of that stuff. You just replace yourself.
I know. I'm trying to be nice here and show her what life could look like. This is the threat, and then you're in the middle, and then Andy will be there if it doesn't work. But like, see Michael there? Be nice, or that could be you.
This is what happens when you get on the wrong side of a vengeful God, Jamie.
Right.
You turn into Michael Thompson.
With Michael Thompson.
We had Byron on last night. He told some stories about Michael. Not flattering. Not flattering. Well,
Michael is an exceedingly odd gentleman. But like,
we love him to death.
Oh,
but
for sure.
He's an odd man. He's a very strange cat.
Oh, B. Scott. See, I can't follow B. Scott. He's got stories for days. He's so much more interesting than I am.
He also had a great wine glass. He had
Popovich's wine.
Yes, it was.
I know, and it's so funny. So I actually, when I was up in Portland covering the playoffs for TNT a couple years ago, I had an off day. I went with Amanda Brown and Arash Markazi, and we were like, you know what? We got an off day in Portland. Let's go drive out to wine country. So we go to the A to Z winery, and the Oregon Pinots are like phenomenal. And I'm in this winery. I had no idea, and all of a sudden I see like a photo of Greg Popovich. I'm like, what's this? And then I learned about his wine label, Rock and Hammer, which if you go in the Spurs locker room, which is for a long time been a very international team.
Yeah.
They have the story about the Rock and the Hammer in each player's native language on the walls in the locker room, and it's the whole theory or the story behind it is that you can hit a rock so many times, and it's not that one big blow that breaks it, but all the work that you put in that's going to finally get the results that you want. Which is like, and then by the way, Greg Popovich, his wine is not available to the public, which is such a Popovich thing to do.
Well, I mean, look, without getting into the man's pockets, he's made some money. Like, I don't want to count the man's money, but he's made some money. And you've made money when you can just make wine that you don't have to worry about selling to anybody or covering the overheads. You know what? I just want this wine to have it. Like, even like Francis Ford Coppola, like, he sells his wine, and that guy's really rich. But he's still like, I'm going to move this wine if I can.
Yep.
Pop's making this for himself.
Have you done the Pop sideline interview thing? Like, you've done that a few times. What's that actually like?
It's dreadful. It is, and I will, and you guys know too. Like, he is actually a sweetheart of a man.
Yes, he is.
He really, really is. And I've talked to him in those pregame meetings with the broadcast team, and he is a gem. I actually really, I love and I respect him immensely. But in that moment, he has that military mindset. He is in the middle of a war, and he has to stop and talk to me for 2 questions, or he hates doing it. I think he fights the NBA every year to eliminate those interviews. And sometimes he's been very kind to me, and sometimes he has not. And I just remember one time I asked him a 3rd question. We're supposed to
no, don't do that, Jamie.
It was so bad because he was so short with his answers. So I asked him like another one, and he was like,
"Oh,
it's like really, like I may have gone to the bathroom in my pants. I may have."
But you know what? Good for you, though. Not for the going in the bathroom in your pants part. They asked me the 3rd question, just because like that's bold. Like nobody does. Like I've seen some long time entrenched NBA reporter, like the David Aldridges of the world, who are some of the most respected people in our industry. They don't ever dare a 3rd question. Yeah. Like I've never seen anybody go 3rd question with Pop.
I'll never do it again.
But just doing it once though, like that's some cojones, Jamie. I'm impressed. By the way,
something, yeah.
Brian one time got a good question from Popovich.
I did. I actually saved this. Where am I?
Please square up.
No, I'm the producer and social media director of this show, and sometimes I have to put the phone down. But I was so happy. I asked him, and he said, "That's a great question." And I called the station to make sure that they clipped it so I could keep it forever. Because asking him questions is terrifying because you're worried he's just going to throttle you on, whether it's TV or whatever it is.
Rite of passage, right?
Yeah. Oh, that's how you get into the club. And
it's. I start thinking about it, like with 8 minutes left before having to walk over there and like talk to him, and I really think hard about like the phrasing of the question that will be like least offensive and stupid in his opinion.
Do you think if the next time you had to do this, and Lord knows when any of us will be allowed to be within 6 feet of anybody connected to the NBA, if you just asked him, why isn't your wine available to the public, and then just kind of ripped him about that, do you think that would go over well or poorly?
It just depends, I think, on how the game's going at that point. Because I've thought about that, like going over there and doing the whole what did you have for breakfast this morning? And just having fun with it, because he's not really talking to you about the game anyway. But, I don't want to be disrespectful to the game either. Mm-hmm. So I haven't gone that route, but it's crossed my mind. I'd actually like to talk to him about his wine anyway, just not during a game.
Someone, I don't remember who it was. I'm saying Jackie McMullen now, and I may be wrong, but I remember a reporter saying that they actually asked him one time, like, what would you pair with a certain fish? Like, what wine? And got a great answer. Like, he loved it, thought it was funny. And, you can tell me, I've never done this, so you can tell me if I'm wrong. I think a little of this by now is shtick. Like, yes, sure. He knows this is his thing, and he can get away with it.
Yeah. And I actually think he's been criticized a little bit more in recent years for having it be his shtick, because it's tough. It's sometimes painful to watch people struggle through those interviews with him. But
you don't want to be mean. There's a difference between being like crusty and being mean. And if you're mean, it doesn't come off well. If you're just kind of crusty and that's your thing, and grumpy, I think people don't mind grumpy. Like, people, I'm okay. Andy's all right.
What would you classify yourself as?
I'm not grumpy at all. My wife actually thinks I have a condition that like she gets fearful about sending me out into the world because she thinks I'm too trusting of people.
So this pandemic is great for you. You can't go out into the world.
She's like, yes, because like, she thinks every time I'm going to go out and sell the family, the magic beans, or sell the cow for the magic beans. She just does. She thinks I am entirely too trustful of people. Andy will tell you he thinks I have too much faith in humanity.
Oh God, I don't get where that comes from. I have no idea where that part of his personality comes from. Yes, Brian is sort of McCartney to my Lennon in that sense.
Good way of putting it.
Yeah,
I'm way more cheerful and optimistic than Andy. Andy's a brooding, kind of moody teenager.
No. It's worse. I'm a brooding, moody adult. I don't even have the teenager thing to fall back on.
Andy in his spare time is very emo.
No, I'm not emo. I'm not emo. That, no. I draw the line at that. I'm absolutely not emo. So we only have you for a couple more minutes, Jamie, before you have to go and do your appearance on KCAL Channel 9, 1045. We will even promote it, even though we would be drawing people away from us because you were kind enough to do this for us.
The people have devices. They can watch both.
Well, and they can watch the replay later, too. We replay the shows. People can check out that. We do want people to watch you tonight. But in doing a little bit of
about?
You want to know what the show's about? When we're talking about a lot of NBA stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, tune in for that, folks. A lot of NBA stuff. Yeah. Way to really tease. That was
We have a package on an Orange County soccer team.
Okay.
Yeah.
In learning a little better. I was doing a little bit of research, Jamie, and I found a video of you talking about when you were working for the Angels, that when you moved from Long Island to California, you had to work on losing your Long Island accent.
Yeah.
What was that process like, and how long did it take?
Well, I moved out to California for high school, and when you start high school, kids can be mean. So they were just said, "Oh, say talk, say coffee, say dog," and it was already hard enough acclimating to a whole new environment and new school and a West Coast system, if you will. And just I tried to get rid of it real fast. That's all. Thank God I did, because now, obviously, later in life, it's. I don't know that I could be on air. I think Linda Cohn is the only one that can get away with it.
Yeah.
She's not that bad. The Long Island accent it can be rough.
Well, Brian.
Well, yeah, my wife, who's also from Long Island, she wanted to be in broadcast journalism, and I think taught herself relatively young to get rid of the accent. Like, she knew, and there's a 0% chance I think we would have been able to go through a first date, because Long Island is on the Mount Rushmore of terrible accents. I think we can all agree it's pretty bad.
That and Boston. If you have that thick Boston accent, I could handle Midwest, but the Boston and the strong Long Island, Staten Island, the Brooklyn accent,
it's pretty rough.
It's pretty rough. Plus, it just reminds me of what I don't do anymore. If I hang out with you and you talk like that, I'm gonna start talking like that. It's not.
I was gonna say, if you have a couple glasses of wine, do you ever slip back into it?
For sure.
Can you do the first couple lines of tonight's broadcast in the Long Island accent?
You son of a bitch. Okay. Welcome everybody to Sports Central. I'm Jaime Maggio here with you. We're going to start tonight with the NBA. I don't know, so I don't even know how we started.
Okay, what if we gave you $20 to do it that way on the actual show?
$20. This is what
20. I will Venmo you $20 now. You know what? And another 20 after.
You know what? I'm in for 22, Jamie. I'm in for
20 before, 20
60.
after. That's,
you just have to.
No, 80. You got to do another 20 after. That's $80, Jamie. 80 American dollars.
Right, but no explanation.
How much for the whole show?
Yes,
I'll kick in another 50.
Yeah, I'm good for it. But there has to be no explanation. You have to just do it.
I just get fired right after the show. I'll be like, hey, can I be on the late night happy hour every night, guys? I got time.
Yes, actually, you can.
Yes, you can, as long as you do the accent every single time.
Would they really fire you for that? Come on.
It's probably not a... Yeah, probably not.
But the same thing happens. Same thing happens to my wife when she has a couple glasses of wine and maybe talks to her mom. Yeah. She slips back into it. And she played for me a tape once of her, like when she was in like 4th or 5th grade, reading a story that she wrote called The Teddy Bear Picnic. That's what it sounds like.
All right, Jamie, on the Periscope, Cam6841 is also offering another $50. So we probably should get you out of here before it starts becoming too tempting. You take the money and you lose your job. Jaime Maggio, Watcher Tonight, 15 minutes, Channel 9, KCAL. Thank you so much. This was fun. We appreciate it.
Faces, and thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun. I'm sorry about the technical difficulties early on.
Well, we seem to have fixed it, and we're sorry for inviting Allie on before you, even though we've known you longer.
It hurt my feelings a little bit. It hurt my feelings. I've known you guys a lot longer. I thought
that is true.
Cool. And now, like you said, you kind of give me the little nose turn up. And
but if we had asked you first, you might have been like, they can wait.
You know what? I'd come back on.
Okay, we'll do it.
Yeah, tell us a night where you don't have to leave, and we'll have you back on.
Oh. Well, then I'd have to spend a night, like one of my off nights with you, and
we're not doing that. No, I totally understand.
We could have a little bit of vino, and we'll have a really interesting conversation.
There you go.
And
awesome,
guys. Be good, be healthy, take good care, and hopefully we have sports soon.
Yes. It would be nice. Stay safe, Jamie. Thanks, you,
Jamie.
Bye, guys.
She could have made some money,
like a couple $100. Like, hold on, she might just do the accent on air in moments. And that's on KCAL 9?
Yes, KCAL 9.
Leave this window open.
She could have made cool maybe $300.
Easy. Easy. If we had put this out, is it worth it? Yes.
Absolutely. I mean, in this thriving climate for media right now, who wouldn't toss their job for $300?
Actually, you know what though? Given how quickly we all lose our jobs, she might still come out ahead.
That is true.
Everybody in media basically walks around now. Basically okay, I'm going to get fired in about 5 minutes.
That is true. If you're thinking about it, Brian, along those lines, you might want to take the cash in hand. Yeah. Just take the $300, knowing that it's going to be there, and let the chips fall where they may.
By the way, reason they have the expression, Andy, bird in the hand is worth two in the bush.
You know what $300 can buy you? A lot of liquor at vsliquor.com, the most convenient way to get your alcohol delivered to your door. Anything you want, one click right there on its way. And for your first order, if you type in sports at the checkout, 15% off, which again, with $300 can take you a long way. vsliquor.com.
Well, you use the 15% off, Andy, and it that's like another $45 right there.
Absolutely.
We put it out there, and we should actually ask this too: if people want Byron or Michael to be our the still of Byron or Michael to be our third guest for the rest of the show, if we need that. But we put it out earlier? Questions. So if you wanted to send in a question for tonight, we're going to do a little mailbag for some of the other show tonight. So Andy will look through the Periscope if he catches something, and I will see if I can pull up some stuff on Twitter.
We got one from the old Lenny equals white, Carl equals black on Twitter. Is it true? And is it true that every firstborn daughter looks like the female version of her dad? As I told him, I'm very grateful that so far the answer in my particular case with my daughter is no, not even a little bit. She does not resemble me at all, which I am eternally grateful for.
Slightest. And I had two sons first. And now I have a daughter, so that I have the same issue, and I am, at the very least, a lot of features seem to be coming from mom, which is This,
yeah,
this doesn't work on me.
Well,
it certainly doesn't work on me. This really doesn't work. This whole thing is not made for a woman.
I've seen me as a woman because I used to be in an improv group, and the Film Pigs, we used to do stage parodies of movies. We would send them up, and when we did St. Elmo's Fire, and shout out to the late Joel Schumacher, who just passed away a few days ago, directed the movie. I played Andy McDowell. And Annie McDowell, let me just say, should be offended at the prospect of me playing her, because it was on a lot of levels not a pretty sight. Like, I did not do her. I mean, it's hard to do Annie McDowell justice.
Yeah, she's prettier.
But even by low standards, I did not do Annie McDowell justice. So the vision of what I look like.
But like a couple weeks ago, was it like last week or a couple weeks ago, that app that was going around where everybody was making themselves into a woman?
Yes, Mason Ireland.
By God, John Ireland is a horrifying looking woman. Just horrifying.
I'll say it right now, and I said it on Twitter, so whatever, it's out there. Raj, the producer for Keyshawn, LZ, and Travis,
did not look bad.
No, he did not. If I'm going to keep this,
it looked a lot like this, Andy.
Yeah, that was my daughter just walked by. You wouldn't?
See, on the left, that was Raj Groves as a woman. That was the photo that was posted for that. So he looked good. Man, I gotta upload some more stills. I'm really enjoying this new.
You really are having way too much fun with it.
You want to go quad box?
As long as you think you can pull it off.
I think I can. So let's go quad box. 1, 2.
Yeah, as long as you don't get us into trouble. We have had a few requests though from people for the quad box. They seem to be enjoying it.
Yeah, let's go quad box.
There we go. There you are.
Well, you know what it is, Andy, and I got to take out the bottom thing, and I've been told it's okay if we do that, because then in the quad box people need to be able to see what's going on.
Although I think the plan is it's.
I'll put it right back on, because the people
there's
at VS
4 live guests, not 2 photos. I don't think VSLiquor.com would consider this worth losing the banner.
You don't think so?
No,
but this tells you how much people miss football. They're like, oh, the K brothers are going quad box. We got to tune in.
Look, man, we grew accustomed to quad box. And look, we now live at a time where Zoom has replaced the quad box, except now your Zoom can get even bigger. Like, your Zoom can be, Octobox or whatever. So
sure. Not ours. Quad is as much as we can go.
Quad is as far as you can go. But, like, we now live in a world where you can't expect much, but you can't expect multiple boxes. So we do have to deliver that. Like,
similar to delivering liquor right to your door for 15% off at vsliquor.com. The easiest, most convenient way to have liquor and quad boxes delivered right to you. I'm going to go back to the regular thing now.
All right. So earlier today, Rob Pelinka did a Zoom presser with, I believe it was 43 boxes. They're not all there at once, and as we were reminded many, many times, everybody on mute unless you're asking a question.
Yes.
But said some interesting stuff in this thing. I think probably the biggest headline was that it's still uncertain whether or not Dwight Howard's actually going to be down in the bubble,
right?
In Orlando, joining the team.
That was, by the way, the worst episode of The Wire. Down in the bubble.
Yes, it is. He acknowledged that the deadline for basically turning in your name and still getting paid has passed. But
right, it's interesting. What's funny about it, Andy, with Dwight is, relatively speaking, by NBA standards, he's making so little this year, and the guy's been in the league for so long. The last night, the 8 games worth of paycheck is really small. So I doubt Dwight even really considered that very much, because for him, it's not like he's losing out on $7 million by not showing up. So he's made roughly a cajillion dollars in his career. If you look it up on Basketball Reference, that's actually what it
right.
says at the bottom.
That's part of what it is too. Dwight might be on a league minimum deal this year, but he hasn't spent a lot of his career on league minimum deals. So I mean, he can afford to do this, whether you're talking about the amount of money surrendering or the amount of money you already have. So, I mean, he's fine either way. But Rob Pelinka acknowledged that at this point, they don't know. And they're not pressuring Dwight, which is the right thing to do, for people who are unaware. I think the biggest driving force would be that one of his sons lost his mother during the early part of the pandemic, during quarantine.
Right. Unrelated to it. I think it was a seizure disorder or something like that.
Yes.
But
and
just to clarify.
And Dwight isn't sure yet about leaving his son for that long of a period of time, which is completely understandable. And then also the issues going on right now with, the focus on systemic racism and police brutality, and Dwight having openly questioned whether or not this is the right time to be playing.
It seems like the impetus would be his son more than anything. But here's the thing. It can be some from column A and some from column B. It can be like, I can't go, and while I'm not able to go, I'm going to use that time to make sure not only am I caring for my family, but that, because I'm not playing, I'm going to do whatever I can to be part of that. And this one, Avery Bradley not being there hurts. Like there's no question Avery Bradley, his absence is going to be a thing. And the Lakers would be better if Bradley was there. He's a good defender. He's had moments where he's hit, been that kind of that third scorer. There seemingly sort of semi-random times where Bradley seems to just jump up and hit 4 or 5 threes in a game. And, had that, really hot streak for like 6 weeks, Andy, before the pandemic. But he is replaceable. You can suck up some of those minutes with KCP. They were very good when KCP started in those.
He's easier to replicate.
Much more. And, Alex Caruso can take some of those minutes. You lose some experience. But in terms of at least skill set, Bradley is replaceable. If they lose Dwight, that's the kind of thing where you start to go, now I might have to change my formulation on picking a title winner. Who do I think is better, the Lakers or the Clippers? Who's more likely to get out? Because Dwight impacts, particularly on the defensive side. You lose Bradley and Dwight. JaVale isn't a bad defender, but Dwight is a different kind of defender. Where
he's a more versatile defender.
He's more versatile, and he's more structured. Like, there is a reason that Dwight tends to get more of those fourth quarter crunch time when they have a center on the floor.
Right.
In important defensive moments. It tends to be Dwight more than it's JaVale. And it's not because JaVale's bad, it's because Dwight is less likely to make positional mistakes. He calls out rotations. Like, he's really good at that stuff. And from a defensive integrity standpoint, losing that, you can move Anthony Davis over. LeBron's duties change. JaVale, again, it's not like he sucks back there. But you lose a lot, and to the point where I would probably at that point go from coin flip Clippers or coin flip Lakers to I'd probably take the Clippers. Not by a lot, but it's that many fewer things the Lakers kind of have in the toolkit,
Well, it's also too like it's not even just that you have a drop off from Dwight to anybody else, or that you lose what Dwight brings to the table. You don't really have a lot of different ways to go about even trying to replace it. You have JaVale, you have Anthony Davis. That's it.
Yeah, well, you know what ends up playing probably some, and I should know how tall he is Devontae Kaycock.
Sure,
that becomes a thing.
That's right, but that is at least until we see evidence otherwise, that's a dicey proposition. He had a terrific year in the G League this year. He made
6'8", 240. Yeah. So
right,
not
he made
undersized in that way. It's really a power forward.
Quite right. In the same way,
as a power forward center.
Right, in the same way, if you played Markieff Morris, it'd be about the same type of size.
Technically, you could put me in the middle, and I become a center.
It is true. Especially in the age of positionless basketball, but very positionless.
Not that positionless. Judge me by my size, will you?
They just don't have a lot of different ways to go on that. Like they don't really have much else that they can bring to the table. Like with Avery Bradley's absence, let's say even if you think that he's the best defensive guard that they have, and in certain ways I actually think he is, in certain types of defense. Certain ways I think other guys are better. But you at least have other options for replacing what Avery Bradley does. Like just in terms of guys that you can ask to do it to whatever varying degree of success. You don't have a lot of options without Dwight. Like your options become vastly limited, even acknowledging how much Anthony Davis would ultimately close out games at the 5. You just lose a lot.
And we've talked about that too, like where my biggest concern with the Lakers in the playoffs is just when you get down to it, like they're just kind of like, how good is LeBron going to be? Like how good is LeBron and Anthony Davis? Like that combo, like if that isn't working, like in a big way, I don't know how many other options they have. Whereas you look at the Clippers, and maybe I'm just overestimating what they have, but like I look at that and go, well, they can do. Yeah, they have Paul George, they have Lou Williams, they have, the Lakers took Lou out of the game in the fourth quarter. Okay, fine. They have Kawhi, they have the Trez thing in the second. Like they have all these different ways, and Marcus Morris, and we don't know what any of this is going to look like when they actually get out there and start playing again. But like just on paper at least, they have more versatility than the Lakers. The Nuggets have probably more versatility than the Lakers.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah,
I could see that.
Again, I don't think they're better. I just think they have more versatility.
Well, what's interesting though is like you're correct that those teams have more versatility than the Lakers, but where I think it really hurts them is the Lakers. They haven't played with, I think, as much versatility as at least I thought at the beginning of the season they might have tried to push for, because it turned out they really like playing big. Like Frank Vogel has said, like all things being equal, even in this age of small ball, he's not a dinosaur in the way he looks at the game, but for things that he wants to do, there's a lot of just bigger matchups that he prefers, and the Lakers have been able to do that. By the way, in ways that keeping JaVale and Anthony Davis together, or keeping Dwight and AD together, like on paper in the modern NBA, you think, okay, those matchups may not work. Like that center's going to get run off the floor. And that hasn't happened. And overwhelm teams with their size. And that's their preferred style. And without Dwight, they have fewer options for that preferred style.
He's not a leaper anymore, but dude is. You stand by next to that guy in the locker room, he is still solidly built.
Dwight?
There's a reason Dwight still doesn't own a shirt.
I wouldn't.
That's the thing. Like, if I looked like, people always got on Dwight for walking around without a shirt. Well, damn right. If I looked like that, I wouldn't own a shirt.
Dwight was the only player, because we covered Dwight during his first go with the Lakers. So, we saw some of this up close. Dwight was the only player in the NBA who loved the jerseys. Like every player in the league hated the jerseys except Dwight, because he'd order his 3 sizes too small to show off the guns. And again, if I were him, I'd do it too.
Yeah,
I'm not even mocking him.
Jerseys that was such a weird, like you could always see the guys like kind of messing with LeBron, always pulling on it and all that kind of stuff. And all those things were ways to try to get like pasty white dudes who were uncomfortable in tank tops to buy NBA gear that they might feel more comfortable. I don't wear jerseys and stuff like that anyway, because I just feel weird. But I would never wear an NBA jersey. Ever.
Okay, on the Periscope
thing. Okay, go ahead.
Really quickly on the Periscope, Cam6841 says, Andy and Brian, sounds like Jamie did a little of her Long Island accent. I guess we owe her some money.
Did she?
I need verification.
I will need to see the video. Can somebody rewind and send us something?
If we can see the video, we'll pay off Jamie.
I will pay her. I owe her $40. And then that other dude owes her $50.
Right, and I owe her 40 as well.
Who's that other person? Who's that guy on the Periscope who said he'd put up money?
Cam. Actually, the same guy. Cam, you're on the hook. Just so you know. You kind of told on yourself here. But yeah, Cam is on the hook as well.
Uh-oh, this is terrible news.
No, you know what? It's glorious news. If Jamie
actually did it,
that's worth $40.
It's state school for the kids.
That's true.
But this is California. We have many outstanding state institutions, so I'm not too worried about that. Do you have any interest in this Cam Newton story? I realize I didn't. A lot of times we'll talk about stuff like, "Hey, what do you want to get into?" We have not mentioned anything about this. Do you think this? I think the assumption, like the odds of the Patriots ending up in the Super Bowl, went through the roof when this happened. Like, is Cam good enough to change because the Patriots still have crappy, wide receivers. They still don't have Gronk, and all that kind of stuff. Like just going from Jarrett Stidham to Cam Newton.
Well, it's interesting. I was listening to the Daily Mina Kimes' podcast, soon to be Pablo Torre's podcast.
That's right.
Because Mina's going to be joining the NFL crew with Keyshawn.
That's right.
Who's going to be part of that as well. But Mina had on Bill Barnwell from ESPN, and they were talking about Cam and the potential prospects with the Patriots, and that question of, okay, let's say Cam is healthy, how big of a difference can he make? Because last year the Patriots looked really unimpressive with Tom Brady. And one thing Barnwell pointed out was that a lot of guys were hurt in the second half of the year. Like, a lot of their weapons and a lot of the guys that could have given Brady the most options were either dinged up or unavailable. So he actually thinks that if everybody's healthy, the group that surrounded Brady was actually better than a lot of the conventional wisdom has them. I mean, Barnwell knows this stuff better than me, so I'm going to take his word on it.
I don't know about that, Andy.
But like, for example, the wide receiver they have, was it N'Keal Harry?
On the Patriots?
Yeah, N'Keal Harry. I remember he played at Arizona State, I believe it was.
Sure.
He's fantastic. Like, he's a huge target. He's really tall. He's really big. Sony Michel had been hurt for some of the year.
Michel's a good player, yeah.
Right. Like, they had guys. Julian Edelman was hurt for some of it. Like, they had guys that were hurt. So his contention was that, there's at least a chance that group was better than they might have seen, at least down the stretch of last season.
Well, what's funny about this too is, like, because we a few weeks ago, when I forget which NFL guy we were talking about this, but we kind of talked about it, was, where could he go? Because he's too good to be just like a guy that you put behind a shaky quarterback. Like, if you have somebody whose job security isn't great, a young player that you want to develop, whatever.
Yeah, you're like creating a storyline at that point.
Exactly. Every time he has a bad game, is Cam going to come in? Is Cam going to come in? Like, because there were rumors like maybe the Rams would bring him in, like serious upgrade for a backup quarterback over the the guy that they have. But he, is he worth the controversy? Like Jared Goff struggled enough last year that I think you don't want to put that there. Because if he has an off game, if he has, like, Cam Newton could still be in that place where suddenly now you have a quarterback controversy because Goff isn't so well established, I think, as a franchise QB that those.
Well, I think the problem is he is, whether they like it or not. I mean, with the money that they gave him and everything. No. I'm not saying that from a money standpoint, you're right. From a fan perception standpoint, sure.
Jared Goff has 2 bad games in a row. Damn right, people are going to be
right. But that's why
Jared
I'm
Goff
saying
over the second half of last season is going to have people coming after him.
Right, but I'm saying the money makes it even another layer of impractical for this. Like,
correct. No, I agree.
Right, unless internally, just you guys think, Sean McVay, Les Snead, everybody internally has just acknowledged, you know what, he's a disaster.
So I tweeted out, wait, did Jaime Maggio do the accent on our broadcast? We might owe her some money. And guess who liked the tweet?
Jaime
Maggio.
That makes me think she did the accent.
I have to retweet with comment.
I think she may have done the accent.
That you liked the tweet.
Makes you concerned she did the accent. Look, be careful what you wish for.
Yet? Because she can come back on and tell us what she did.
I don't know if she's done yet, but be careful what you wish for. Let her know if she's done. She can come back in. Like, put that in the tweet. Like, re-enter the room and come back in and let us know. And again, be careful what you wish for. We brought this up, in the back of our heads, thinking, Jaime won't do it. Yeah. And if she did it, good for her.
I agree.
Good for her, man. She deserves the money.
Technically, we can stay on until 11:10.
We had both thought that Cam Newton would have been a really good option for the Chargers because, Justin Herbert may not be ready yet. And, Tyrod Taylor's fine. But, Tyrod Taylor doesn't create a quarterback controversy. And if Cam Newton is healthy, there's no question he's better than Tyrod Taylor. It's not close. So
I agree with that. I kind of have a soft spot for Tyrod Taylor.
Right. He's fine. Tyrod Taylor's fine. But if Cam Newton is healthy, he's way better than fine. Like, it's
Correct.
not even close.
I agree with that.
But that didn't happen. I think the Patriots in some ways stayed off people's radar because, for some reason, Stidham was sort of a story. But also, it felt like cliche, almost like of course he's going to end up on the Patriots. The Patriots are going to outsmart everyone. Like, it almost seemed too cliche to actually happen. You know what I mean? Like,
I almost think too. It's like it's Bill Belichick trolling the universe in a few ways because not only is he like go from like this is finally going to be the year the Patriots fall off. Buffalo's going to win the division. This, that, whatever. All these other things. He goes out and gets a quarterback that really going from Tom Brady. A robotic guy, to say the least, in interviews. Somebody who, a snappy dresser, Andy, but not in a Cam Newton kind of way. Like,
good
Cam comes, but Cam has his own, to say his least, his own style, his own way of doing things. He's been outspoken about, like, and that's Bill Belichick just going, we're cool. I'll take him too. It's fine. And he'll probably, just get absorbed into that Patriot Borg thing that they have and go out and win him some more stuff.
Well,
and it bothers me because I don't like rooting for the Patriots, but I'm kind of rooting for Cam.
Yeah. I mean, Cam Newton was a really great quarterback who was a lot of fun to watch, who was getting hurt a lot. And, Barnwell talked about, and I think as much as people have speculated that Newton's personality and, perceived baggage, if you want to call it that comes with Newton, or just like the story of having Newton was too much for a lot of teams. But as he brought up, and I'm sure there's some truth to this, it was difficult to get a beat on, is he healthy or not during the pandemic, because you couldn't work him out. Like you couldn't do like a real workout with him. And Newton really has created legit health issues for himself. Like the idea of physically, can he do this? That's a legitimate, fair question to be asking. So I do think that has been at least some of the reason that Newton didn't have.
By the way, because he may not be capable, physically ready, and this is assuming the NFL is even able to play, which I am in my hierarchy of sports about which I am concerned. You can start at the bottom. I feel like I don't know. I've decided MLS is going to be able to pull this off. I don't know why. I feel like it's because nobody's asking. Hockey apparently has some issues with testing and things like that. Guys, the rates are. I'm reasonably confident about the NBA. Football, pro football, the amount of quarantining that these guys are going to have to do to get through a 17-week or they're not going to be able to go near anyone, and their families are not going to be able to go near anyone, and all these other things, because I don't see how you contain the spread of a virus like this in a game like football if it starts to break out. And
and also too,
forget about it. That's for
the raw. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. Frankly, I mean, until you can put students on campuses,
that's the big one.
These guys shouldn't be playing. Period. I mean, at that point, you're just calling them money generators.
It is too dangerous. It is too dangerous for you to go to your 8:30 oceanography lecture, but it's fine for you to go play Auburn this Saturday.
I mean, that's
even for the NCAA.
Right.
The optics of that don't work.
Like that's just too cynical. I mean, like that is even for the most either jaded or indifferent people who consume college sports. Even for them, that's going to be too much. But the NFL too, like beyond the mechanics of the sport and like what the sport requires in terms of like extreme contact, the rosters are huge, the staffs are huge. Like it takes a village to keep track of a football team. Like, we're around the Rams. There's a lot of people there.
Do we know what time Jamie's hit is done?
I think 11 maybe, but I'm not sure.
All right.
I honestly don't know.
We're going to stay on a couple extra minutes.
I mean, she didn't text gloating.
No,
but I don't know
it.
Right, but she might have liked it because
maybe she just thought it was funny.
Right, I don't know.
Or maybe she's being nice and just like this. Jamie has a significant social media following. I didn't realize like it's very large. Maybe she's just trying to help us out.
She could be. I mean, Jamie's a really sweet person. I don't know what this means, but I'm a little concerned. It means writing her a check.
Right. Here's the thing. I don't have $40.
I don't really either.
Wait, hold on. Let me put out a poll. Can you loan me?
Might have to ask Jamie to spot me 20 of it.
You may loan me $40. Yes or no? Let's see what people say.
It's going to be a lot of no. Well, here's the thing. Can isn't as much important as will. Because can, if you won't, who cares? It's got to be will. Will you loan me $40? Because if you can but you won't, might as well not be able to. So
will you loan me $40?
All right, let's see how that goes.
See what America thinks about whether or not I should have made this bet.
It'd be very instructive if we found out if Jamie voted. that would be really beneficial.
I am going to need to see video evidence. I'm not just taking people.
Oh no, I know.
And it's got to be legitimate. It can't just be like one word.
No.
I need like a sentence. I need a sentence.
Receipt. We need real receipts on this.
Now, if she actually worked in Teddy Bear Picnic, because that's what my wife,
that's the money right there.
That's it right there. So, right now at this point, I'll be honest with you, we're just sort of vamping to see what happens.
Carl Reiner.
Yeah, let's
Carl
do that.
Reiner passed today. Comedy legend, the father of Rob Reiner. He was an actor. He was a writer. He was a director. He had a comedy career that, he did stand up. He had like a 6-decade, seven decade career that managed to stay trenchant, like with stuff, being in the Oceans franchise and things like that. Like Carl Reiner managed to stay top of mind and topical. It's really impressive.
Well, I mean, it's funny. It's like I went back and I looked. It's like when he's one of these guys where, and we've talked about this with Newhart, regarding Bob Newhart, who is somebody who is still alive, and somebody if he's actually on my list of people I would, apropos to literally nothing having to do with sports, I would love to talk to. But like his stuff, I remember when we talked about this on a podcast a bunch of years ago. His stuff is still very funny. Like it holds up incredibly well, and a lot of the stuff that Carl Reiner did, and the stuff with Steve Martin, and go back to The Jerk, and you go back farther to Dick Van Dyke Show, and you go back to the stuff, all the things he did with Mel Brooks. A lot of it, not all of it, but a lot of it still holds up incredibly well. And for comedy to be written in the 50s and 60s or whatever, and still play that many years later, and for a person to still be funny that many years later is an amazing thing. And what I think was great about Carl Reiner is he always did it as the straight man.
Yeah, which is hard to do. It's a really difficult talent to be funny while the game plan is to let the other person, for lack of a better way of putting it, shine more than you. Like, it requires a skill in comedy. It requires a lack of ego. Like it requires the ability to really be a true team player. And he was, I think when you're confident enough to know how talented you are and all the different ways that you're talented, like we mentioned, he was a writer, he was a performer. The Steve Martin collaborations that he did, he directed The Jerk. He directed All of Me, which is a brilliant movie.
It's a very, very good movie.
All of Me is a fantastic movie. He did Dead Man Can't Wear Plaid, The Man with Two Brains. He did a lot of different things. And I think that knowing that you are that talented and knowing that your services will always be in demand, I think allows you to put that ego aside.
It does.
To not necessarily have to be the most outwardly shining guy.
But like you go back to like 2,000-Year-Old Man stuff with that he did for years with Mel Brooks. Mel Brooks can't be funny in those shows if Carl Reiner doesn't set him up with the right questions
And
and
perfect.
doesn't and with the timing and like you and come back like he's got to be right on point with the thing that allows the thing to go to the next thing and like
Yeah.
that is so hard to do. You know how old he was when he did Ocean's 11?
I'm gonna get the first one was
First
20
one.
years ago. He was like probably 75.
70, no, older than that, 70, 78, 79. He probably filmed it when he was 70, 78. Came out when he was about 79. We're in a, it is sad when anyone dies. It is a sad time to have someone die because it's very difficult to have funerals and memorials and all the people that would come out for Carl Reiner and all that. But like, it is kind of nice in a time where there is so much sadness like around death, like when somebody who's 98 years old and had the life of Carl Reiner dies, you celebrate that life.
Yes.
I think more than just straight mourning it or whatever. And you feel for his family, like you hope they're able to have something for him that's appropriate. And it'll be a while before you can have like the true memorial where everybody would get together because you can't have, quite frankly, can't put Carl Reiner's friends in a room right now. They're all too old.
No.
But it is. I woke up and I saw that news, and I wasn't sad in the way that I've been seeing so many deaths over the last 3.5 months, or really just 2020. And it was nice to just think about how wonderful a life he had.
Yeah, he was a veteran. I mean, he really lived. Like he really did a lot over the course of nearly 100 years of living. I want to throw out too. First of all, you mentioned the Ocean's franchise. That might actually be my favorite role, Saul Bloom.
He's not
so
of all the
great.
things that he did, like the acting part.
He's
I think
so
the part. He's
yeah,
so
like
funny in that.
it's really him doing a lot of acting in certain ways that he doesn't always get to do. I also want to recommend a movie for people if you like Carl Reiner, you want to just see something a little bit different for him. The movie that's Slums of Beverly Hills. He plays Alan Arkin.
I forgot about that.
He's terrific in it. He plays Alan Arkin's brother. Alan Arkin is one of the central characters, and he's this guy who's basically living off his brother. His brother's floating him all his expenses and lords it over him a lot. And Carl Reiner, it's kind of an unusual, bit of a heel role for him, and he's really good. It's a terrific role.
All right, so we don't see anything else from Jamie. We'll have to find out if you're on the.
Cam actually sent a link to Jamie on Sports Central. I don't know if we can actually. We'll find out. We'll settle this, by the way, for people tomorrow. If you're looking to find out about this, we'll also tweet it out at Cam Brothers.
Yeah, and tomorrow, actually, very exciting. We are going to celebrate. We've now done over 50 of these, Andy. Did anybody think that we'd be allowed to do more than 50 of these? No. No, I don't think anybody did.
Including us.
Including us. But I will, and by the way, America will not loan me $40.
I didn't think
right
they
now,
would.
60% of America will not loan me $40, and only 40% of America will. To that 40%, I say thank you. Hopefully that will change by tomorrow because I have a feeling I owe Jaime Maggio some money. But we're going to celebrate our somewhere over 50 episodes by having our very first guest, Ben Lyons, back on the show tomorrow.
He's going to be like Bill Murray was David Letterman's first guest on the original Late Night for NBC. Then we moved over to CBS. He was the first guest. He's been David Letterman's first guest on a few occasions. Ben Lyons is our Bill Murray to our David Letterman.
Jill
so we're very excited about that.
She will loan me money, the great musician, that she will loan me money if I can get her good seats to a Lakers game whenever that happens again and when they play the Nuggets, and I have to buy her snacks.
It doesn't seem like a very cost-effective way to get $40.
No, Jill Sobel, but thank you for at least volunteering. So anyway, that's tomorrow. Alvin Gonzalez on Thursday. We're going to take Friday off for the holiday, And we'll be back with our Saturday show, the Saturday morning happy hour at 9 o'clock on 710 ESPN on Saturday. That's the whole week. That's the rundown. Let's go see if we owe Jamie money. And thank you again, Jill Sobel, for offering to loan me money. See everybody tomorrow.